Welcome to Magical Women. I'm your host, Connie Boyd. Subscribe now and click on the bell to receive weekly notifications of new content. We have so many fabulous magical women. Don't miss their stories, their struggles, and their successes. Click on the bell. And now, on to the third Magical Women sequel talk with the fabulous Billy Kidd. How thorough are you about presets and your preparation for your show?
Pretty thorough, very thorough. My show, though on stage doesn't look like there's a lot of setup, there's quite a lot of setup and a lot of, ticking boxes, checking, making sure I've got everything. Sometimes I even take photos of ways certain props are laid out, just so it's always set the same, so I can compare. So yeah, I think it's important for most of us when you're doing a show is to be very thorough with your setup. And when you strike as well, you want to make sure everything's put away in the right place. You can find it later on.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the bolt that holds the entire piece of apparatus together.
Exactly.
When you're rehearsing your material or rehearsing a show, and those are two different things, how do you rehearse it? Do you rehearse it beginning, middle, end? Do you have a process that you go through if you're preparing for a show per se?
For a full show?
Yeah.
I would say it's funny because every piece of magic I do, every routine that I do, I kind of treat it as, if you think of it like in a score for like a symphony orchestra, for example, we have different movements, or like in an opera, you've got different movements. And I would say every piece of magic I do is considered like a movement. So you could just play the first movement and then not the second or third, and an audience would still be satisfied. So I kind of treat each routine kind of like that. So the routines are they're constructed separately as certain movements. And then in the context of my show, depending on which show I'm doing, I then piece, okay, well, which bit would fit better in whatever order, and why is it like that? And so I guess each thing is rehearsed individually, then put together, and then I would do full on rehearsals from beginning to end, like 100%, like full out, as if there's an audience there. Yeah
And end up with a complete score. I love that analogy.
Yeah And I guess I use that analogy for myself personally when I'm constructing a show, because it is like a piece of music, and you are taking an audience through different emotions, not just a series of effects. So the pacing and the rhythm of the show, whether it's, do I have a volunteer now, and then the next one I don't, and then this and that is really important. So it's all very conscious decisions.
Yeah. What would you say if I had to pin you down and I had to say, okay, what was your worst magic disaster and how did you get out of it?
Oh gosh, my worst one was a few years ago. I was performing at Glastonbury Festival, which is this big music and arts festival in the UK over here. And they have got this marquee called Mavericks. So it's basically a show that starts at 1 a.m. and goes to about 4 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And it's a late night to perform and nobody wants to do it, but you want to be in the audience watching. I will watch Mavericks all the time, but I hate performing it because you got to get ready at like 2, 3 or whenever your slot is. So one year they asked me to do Mavericks. I reluctantly said yes. And I said, I want to be on early, like 1 a.m. But I was traveling for 3 months up until I got to Glastonbury. So I had to set my whole Glastonbury show, give it to a friend 3 months in advance, get it all ready, so when I landed I could go straight and do this gig. And I thought I was really prepared because I was like 3 months ahead of time. And I decided for this Mavericks show that I'm not going to do a routine with a volunteer, because everyone's probably drunk or on who knows what kind of substance at that time. I didn't want to rely on a volunteer. I just wanted something self-contained where it's only me and nothing else. So I decided to do sympathetic cards, because I don't need anybody for that. I'm like, perfect. And I'll never forget the night, like 2 hours before my show time, I'm sat in my tent. It's late at night. And I'm like, if I smoked, I would have been smoking in my tent. Like, I was thinking, I'm so prepared. I got everything ready 3 months ago. I don't need anything. I just have to go and show up and do it and go back to bed. And sure enough, I get on stage and I take off the cellophane from the deck of cards. And I open up the deck, as in my pattern's something like, it's a brand new deck of playing cards. It comes in an order called New Deck Order. And as I'm taking off the jokers and spreading through, instantly I know these cards are not in the right order at all.
Oh, no.
I must have in my last show just put them in the box, magically put the cellophane. I in my head I had said it and I didn't. And it's not even like I could have used this deck for anything else, right? There's nothing. I couldn't have done a normal card trick, which is I would have,
Yeah.
but I couldn't spend the time. And this is like pure egg on face. I loved every moment of it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking in my head like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. And I don't have another deck of cards on me because I was so confident. I had everything ready 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I just go to the compare. I'm like, these aren't in order. What a strange mystery. I'll be right back. So I just leave the stage and the compare has no idea what's going on. And I'm frantically trying to put these cards in order in the dark in the middle of a field because there's no electricity, not properly anyhow, because it's, you know, in the middle of a farmer's field at this festival. And I can't see anything. And it feels like it's taking 5 minutes just to reset something that normally takes me a couple seconds. Yeah. And all I can hear is the compare on stage going, she's using an ordinary deck of playing cards, just an ordinary deck of playing cards. And I'm going, oh. And it was literally a moment of going, I either bail right now, I leave, get the next act on, or I just set this, I go back out there and I finish this train. And that's what I did. I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back out there. I don't care. I'm going to finish this train. And yeah, that was it. That's how I'm sure everyone was very confused. But really it was like, I don't know, it was so early in the morning, 1, 2 in the morning. I figured most people will forget about this, as will I.
And many times what you're experiencing, the audience, they don't feel it, but what you're internally experiencing, that panic and that sort of stress, and yet externally you're composed, and they just kind of are confused, and if you can just get away with confused and not then you're okay.
yeah But I'll never forget it, and every time I do that routine I always triple check everything now and going, right, we're good. Yeah. So I learned my lesson. Yeah. Don't be too confident. Don't get ready 3 months in advance. Check your stuff right before you start a show.
Yeah, always check your...
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
No, that's great advice. If you've liked this talk so far, please give it a thumbs up and leave a message in the comments below. I promise to answer as soon as possible, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Have you encountered any situations or any at any point in time that your gender has been an advantage or a disadvantage?
I would say the only time I'd find it an advantage is if I was at a casting where specifically they needed a female magician. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of us, so that is an advantage. But I've never found it a disadvantage in any kind of way. Yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those topics where I just can't really get my head around in the real working world. And I mean, like, not the world where you're doing conventions and whatnot within the magic community, but in the real working world, I've never had any kind of qualms or hurdles just because I'm a female magician. In fact, I don't think most people even care unless I tell them, oh, by the way, I'm a rare thing in my business. And they go, oh, right. But if I don't, it's not even an issue, which I think is great.
Yeah. Since in the last 15 years, I've been doing a lot of work on cruise ships, and most of our audiences, it's European and Asian cruise ships, not North American. And most of our audiences don't really have a magic reference point. So they just are looking at the show as a good show. They're not looking at it as gender. They're looking at it, is it a good show, a bad show? Did it make me suspend disbelief? Did I feel wonder? You know, those are the things that are important about the performance, and not necessarily gender. So that, I think that's really important. And I think we've kind of evolved beyond that. Thankfully.
I think so, yeah. Well, when I first got into magic, the fact that there was very few female magicians was not even on my radar ever. It never even came across my mind at all. Yeah. Because I don't know, I kind of believe if you're truly into this for the right reasons, if you're passionate enough about magic or whatever it is you do, nothing should stop you. I don't, that's how I feel about it anyhow. So I don't know why people get upset that there's not enough of us, or they feel, discouraged, which is a shame. But really, in my opinion, like in the real world, none of that really matters with work. Right. So, yeah. I just tick away, really.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think if there's anything that's happened after Craig, it's that people are a little bit more real. And I know we're in the business of shows, and it's the illusion of glamour and looking great, and that's been most of my career, that sort of image thing. But I think that being a little gritty is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think more people have learned to let go in these times when we can't get haircuts and all of the above. So yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I think we're getting a little bit more real nowadays.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Ironic as it is being a magician.
Yeah. Like, I always joke that the reason women are the natural illusionists is because we are mistresses of illusion. If you don't have boobs, you create them. If you need, you've got eyelashes, we've got makeup, we've got, you name it, we have a way to enhance it. So it's just...
That is so true. I've never thought of it that way, but that's a good way of putting it, for sure.
We're pretty good at it. Do you have a makeup or a hair secret that you would like to reveal?
Oh, I do have a little secret. I've been in lockdown because of our times that we're in.
Right.
But I always have a bit of like colored hair, which is only coming out because I've been cutting my own hair. That's not my secret though. No, I found this was colored in December, and we are in June now. And I got dark hair, and this has stayed quite strong, even though I've cut most of it out. A little tip from my travels. I came across a hairdresser who I asked him, like, what kind of shampoos actually keep color in your hair? And he told me about this one, and you can only find it online. I've never seen it in a shop, called Lakme Technia. They come in different colors. There's a shampoo and a treatment. And so I ordered this stuff online, and it is amazing. So I'll shampoo my hair with normal shampoo, and then I'll use the Lakme Technia shampoo, and then I use the treatment after. And it has saved me a lot of money.
Fabulous. I'll put that in the descriptions down below.
Go for it.
There will be a lot of viewers.
I don't know what the
I
don't know what the chemicals are like, if it's going to give me cancer, but at the moment, this has been in since December, and usually after a month it would go orange and like start fading.
Right.
But no, I'm going on like 6 months pretty much. Yeah, that's my tip.
That's a very good tip. People that come to see your show have reunited with that emotion of childlike wonder and fun, and that's something that is very important to you, that your audiences feel that.
Yeah, I think it's something that just kind of comes out naturally. I think I know what review you're talking about, because funny enough, that particular show was about adulthood. and so many people would misinterpret as kind of like this childhood thing. I'm like, no, listen to the text. I'm saying when I'm this age, this happens, and I'm making it really important that it's everything that's happening in the show is as a full-grown adult. But there is that element in it where I want to kind of strip that. I call it killing your old babies. I basically, when I start my show, my first line is "Good evening, old babies," and that always gets a reaction for some reason. And it's consistent. Anything that's a consistent laugh,
right?
And it's consistent, or a consistent reaction in your show. It's always good to like make notes of those and then figure out why that is consistent. Mm-hmm. And then when it's not, for whatever reason in whatever show, why did it not get the laugh or the reaction then? And old babies was something that I found very consistent. So I started kind of diving into that theme a little bit more, and decided, well, what if the audience could kill their old babies? Where does that take us? Which is a whole other story in itself. So yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No worries. I've got all the time in the world at the moment.
Remember to subscribe and comment below.